A big hello and a warm welcome to all of you amazing and beautiful people out there. Welcome to my channel, The Twin Flame Union. In the previous channeling, I spoke about how the Divine Feminine should choose one side. Either she choose the 3D or she has to choose the 5D, 5th D, and then stick with it. But I would like to tell you in this particular session that what happens in the hell dimension, what are the emotions and what are the emotions in the 5D. Once we enter 4D, what happens from 4D to new humanity consciousness to 5 dimension, the I am presence, enlightenment, and the 12th dimension. What are the emotions? I will start from completely low score, which is 20, which is the lowest. Below 20 also, I'm sure there are things happening in minus, but let's start from there. So at 20 we have shame, at 30 we have guilt, at 50 we have apathy, which means lack of interest, lack of enthusiasm or concern. The example would be, there are many students. I heard once in Japan, lot of young people are going through this type of a depressive phase where they don't leave their room. They don't even get out of their room. They get everything in the room, the food, everything literally. And this type of mental disorder is called hikikomori. Is the condition where the individuals, they refuse to leave their house. They don't go to work, they don't go to school, they just isolate themselves from the society and the family in a single room for a period which goes up to 6 months. So the dimension, they are actually witnessing hell dimension, which is apathy in a way, I would say that. Why? Because see, you can live like a hermit. Hermits also usually don't go anywhere. They don't do all the 3D things that people do, but they are extremely focused with their inner work. They have a job, they have some work. They will go out for a walk also. They'll go out to park also as and when required. They will not like literally stay inside the house and stay inside the room and isolate themselves. They don't do that. They create their own ecosystem. The opposite of that lifestyle is hikikomori, where this is becoming very popular. HIKIKOMORI. You can study about it. In our twin flame world, twin flame universe, we are going to call it dark night of the soul. So in Japan, this is becoming very, very common these days, a very acute type of social withdrawal. But I would say it's a collective feeling, it's a collective consciousness type of feeling. But they sometimes say that it's a modern day hermit. I would like to correct this definition. They are not modern day hermits, because the hermits have something to do. The hermits are focused, they have inner work they are doing, and the hermits are detached from the 3D world. Here, some of the people, most of those people are actually in the dark night of the soul, where they are dependent on other people. So I would say yes, if you are in the dark night of the soul where you are dependent on your family for food or for rent or for anything, then that time you are witnessing. Now, if you get out of the dark night of the soul, you become independent, you start doing some work, you get some job or you have a mission, and still you are emotionally dependent on other people, then that means you keep going in and out of the dark night, or the dark night will mostly appear as a disease, as a problem. It will not be a very long dark night. It will come like 4 days, 3 days, 2 days. You'll be down, you'll be low. Then you'll be like, okay, come on, I need to get out of it. I need to shake it off. You'll shake it off. You'll go out in the sun. In twin flame world, few things are really helpful, very healing. One is sun. You must sit in the sun, especially in the winters. You should go out for at least an hour in broad daylight, like hot sun. It's not that hot, but warm sun. Water. You should keep on drinking as much water as you can, because if you are hydrated and if you're always drinking water, then you'll sleep on time. You'll be very positive, and try to eat a lot of almonds. This is especially for people who have stomach related issues. Those who are trying to work on their solar plexus, or those who are having issues with the partner, thinking that I don't, get love and I'm unlovable, they have a lot of digestion issues. So they should eat almonds. Almond milk is very good for them. and they should drink a lot of water. They should also have warm water in between, and try to get rest as well. If you cannot rest for too long, then rest for 2 hours, then rest for 1 hour. And as I always say, chant the Bij mantra, the sound of solar plexus. Either play it in the background or you chant it. It will have really, really good impact on you. So this is apathy. And interestingly, on Wikipedia, there are certain pointers which it has given as a definition for hikikomori. Hikikomori. Number one, the people who suffer from it, usually they are in their early 20s. They spend most of the day and nearly every day confined to home. They are marked and persistent in their avoidance of social situations and social relationships. Then point number 3, social withdrawal symptoms causing significant functional impairment. Number 4 point, duration of at least 6 months and more. Number 5, no apparent physical or mental etiology to account for the social withdrawal symptoms. Now, I could also say that if the same person has a mission and they're spending their time studying, writing a book, then see, the same thing becomes completely different. Otherwise, technically, when the lockdown happened, a lot of people started having very weird mental issues, because they were so used to going out, they were so used to being with other people, they were so used to being in a codependent scenario that the lockdown completely broke them down. A lot of people had psychiatric issues at that time also. And there were so many news of very popular, very famous people committing suicides, not being able to cope up with the isolation that it created. Then the next is 75 points, which is grief. Now sometimes grief is required, when we lose somebody, but if your grief is continuous, if it's going on and on and on and on and on, then definitely you need to look into it, because then there is some kind of a victim abuser consciousness, because all these points that I'm talking about till pride, they are all under victim abuser consciousness, which create a guilt. So if you're grieving for too long, basically you are guilty about something. Maybe you did not take care of someone, or maybe you are holding yourself responsible for certain things that could not be done for that specific pet or specific person or anyone it is that you loved, and you lost them because of life and death. And now that you've lost them, you feel that you've completely lost them. You can't do anything about it. But while they were there, you could have done better things for them, but you did not do it. So you are in that zone. So there is obviously guilt in that. And there is guilt, there is shame, there's also apathy. All these things are there, combined. Then we have at 100 point, which is fear. And fear, as we know, we have all heard this word, we have seen this word. The opposite of fear is love. But what is fear? If we have to look at the dictionary meaning of this word fear, and why not, it's an unpleasant emotion caused by the threat of danger, pain or harm. So the threat, it is a threat basically, and it's an unpleasant emotion. As a verb, the meaning is being afraid of someone or something as likely to be dangerous, painful or harmful. So why do we fear? We fear because we are taught to live again, fear comes from codependency. So there is some kind of a panic, there is some kind of a terror. There is a feeling that something will go wrong. Maybe sometimes, when you get a headache or sometimes you get a pain, some kind of a pain, even that pain can trigger big fear, like something wrong is going to happen to me. The most people who end up in hospitals and in expensive treatments, they never find a solution because they are scared. But the moment they remove that fear, they will find some kind of a solution, an easy solution, or they will snap out of it, or they'll be like, okay, I know I'm scared right now, I know I'm in fear, but I can do it, I can get out of it, I will fix it, I will find a solution. So automatically when you get out from the fear, the threat, whatever is posing threat to you, for you, the threat will not look like a threat, and you will start looking for a solution to how you can overcome it. The next is 125, desire. And by the time, so let's understand, in the third dimension, what are the emotions that rule, or most important emotions, or usually these are the emotions that we see in the 3D world. Fear is obviously very strong, and no matter what you say and do, the whole 3D world is based on fear. Everything. The jobs are based on fear, marriages are based on fear, children are based on fear. Now you're going to ask me why, how would I, what makes me say that? For example, most people are scared to be alone. So they have created a system. And I'm talking about people who live in fear, because once you get out of fear, you'll realize that there are so many people who are doing really cool things in life and you didn't know about it because you were living in that dimension. For example, you go out cycling for the first time, you think that you're the only one who's cycling, or you go out jogging for the first time in the morning, you think you're the only one. But when you go out, you go to a park, you say, oh my god, there's so many people. Or you go to the roads, see so many cyclists are there. So I was literally thinking that I am making a very big step, a very big decision, but there are so many people who are doing this. Or when we start looking out for information on YouTube, and this is an interesting part, like the first time you think that you're a twin flame, or the first time you think you're a star seed, you're like, okay, there's nobody like me. But when you go on a platform and you type that information and you go like, oh my god, there are so many videos on it and so many people are watching those videos, that itself should give you some kind of relief that you're not the only one. But same thing happens in fear-based content also, because the fear-based content is also being consumed by a lot of people. I tell you to go by your balanced opinion, and I tell you to go by positive energy. But I'm just giving an example. When you step out of purgatory, then only you'll realize that you're not alone. So next is, as I said, desire. At 125, you have desire. And I spoke about desire in the previous video also, where I said the divine feminine should choose. Okay, let me first explain why I said that everybody is based or living out of fear. So people are born. Why do they get education? They get education because they have a fear that if they don't get this type of education, they will not get a job. They will not be able to make money. They will not have any food. They will not be able to survive. So survival becomes the reason for education. Not that you want to grow as a person, not that you need to progress in life, not that you need to thrive, or not that you like that subject. So if you enjoy farming, you should study farming. But if you are studying engineering, even though you enjoy farming, that's because someone in your house has told you, you won't get any jobs. If you want to get a job, you must study engineering, because then you'll sure shot get a job. So 4 or 5 years the engineer is studying. That is a very depressive phase. And I'm not talking about people who love who do it because they love it. If you love it, if you have interest in it, then you must do it. Then you must learn anything. But if you don't have interest in it and you're still doing it because somebody or a lot of people, a collective group of people thinks that if you don't do it, then you're going to suffer, you're going to be alone, you're going to be miserable. Similarly, marriages, the karmic marriages, all karmic marriages happen because they say you're running out of time, you're running out of age, you're not going to find someone, you're going to be all by yourself, you're going to get old alone. All these type of things they say. Or mostly, like in India I've heard, it's about the family's pride, it's about the family's place in society. Like what would people say? That they can't even get their daughter married, they can't even get the son married. Oh my god, the daughter is 30 years old. Oh my god, she's not yet found a guy. Oh my god, something must be wrong with her. Or she's 35 or she's 40 or something. The other day, an acquaintance called me up. She's about to turn 40, or she's probably 38, 39, and she has this whole pressure, and she's been going to psychiatrists because she has this pressure on her, that now she needs to get married. Oh, sorry, she's not 38, she is around 44 or something. And 44 is actually a very significant time in the twin flame world or a ascensioner's life, because 44, 32, 44, 35, 36, these are all very significant years, okay? So she was like, what do I do? Everybody's saying there's something wrong with me. And she was not working, she was going through a lot. So I said to her that are you going to listen to all those people or you're going to listen to your heart? If you like someone, then I'm not gonna stop you. Go ahead, get married to that person. But if you want to do it only because other people are telling you, because other people are forcing you, then you should not do it. So anyway, yes, there is fear. And then another fear is fear of having children. Again, someone told me, oh my God, if you adopt a child right now, or if you have a child right now, it would be so good because this child will take care of you when you grow old. But if you look around, there are so many children who leave their parents at old age, or when they get married, they also want to live with their own family members, their own wives or husbands or children. They don't want to live with family because they can't live with family. They're like, I also want to enjoy my independent individual life. So many of them do that. So many people don't want to live with their old parents because they're like, oh my God, who's going to live with my old parents? They are so orthodox, or they're this, or they're so interfering, blah, 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 whatever. They have strong religious beliefs, and the old parents are like, oh, my children should never leave me. If they leave me, I'll be so sad because I raised them, I educated them, I did it so that they're going to take care of me in my old age. But look at them, they are not doing it. So they are all, basically going through these hell vibrations in some way or the other. Fear is connected to desire. Desire is connected to fear, in many ways. So then there are some people who lose their children at a young age, like because of life and death. Or there are some parents who educate their children. I have seen it. They educate their children. They send them to foreign countries to study. And later on, the children don't come back. Because what is the child's fault also? You send the child away at the age of 15 or 16, or maybe, later on for college. Now they have studied in abroad, and now obviously they cannot go back to the village and work over there and do a business. You send them abroad, now they're going to get a job abroad. They're going to settle over there because they are now accustomed to those socio-economic or cultural activities, or, dating system or food system or money system. Somebody who's earning in dollars or pounds or maybe euros. Now suddenly you tell them, okay, come back to my village. Whatever you've studied, forget about it. Let's do some business here. They would say, why did you even send me abroad? Why did you send me to study if that was your thing? You should have put me into the village school only. You should have sent me here nowhere, should send me here only, somewhere around only. So yes, logically also it doesn't make sense. What can the parents do then? Now, the parents also cannot sometimes travel to this new place because they've lived like 40 years, 50 years in a certain location. They are used to that place, they're used to the city, used to the village, used to that location. They don't want to go. But there is always this type of a pain, this type of a fear, this type of a sadness that I'm not lovable, I cannot do this. The children who don't understand it at that time when they are young, they understand it later on when they grow old. Then they realize, oh, my father made this sacrifice for me, my mother made this sacrifice for me, and today when I have a child and my child doesn't listen to me, now I understand it. And then they go into the grieve mode. They are constantly grieving. The whole time they are grieving. They're looking at their parents' pictures, they're looking at their videos, or they talk about them, my father used to do this for me, my father. But because he did not do anything, he or she, for the father when the father was alive, that time they did not realize it. When the father is gone or the mother is gone, and now they have their own children and they are attached to their children, then they realize, okay, now this is what this relationship is all about. These are all relationships based out of attachment. These are all 3D relationships. And I'm not saying that don't be a responsible person, don't do your duties, but do it in a detached way. Know that there are certain things which you can control, and there are certain things that you cannot control. And then we have desire. So I've explained fear. Fear, now you can figure it out by yourself, and you can start looking at things from that, emotion also, that am I in fear? When I look at my divine masculine or my divine feminine, am I fearful right now? Is it a desire? Am I in the dark night of the soul? So you can actually look at these emotions, and I'm obviously sharing the picture also along with this talk that I'm doing, so that you can, you don't have a difficulty in using it, applying it for yourself personally. Desire is my favorite. You know that I speak a lot about desire. I speak a lot about desire because people are trying to manifest so many desires. Desire, in the dictionary, it means a strong feeling of wanting to have something or wishing for something to happen. A strong wish for or want for something. Examples are given. He resisted public desires for choice in education. He never achieved the status he so desired. She never got the relationship they so desired. She never got the wealth they so desired. In your twin flame journey or ascension journey, it's very important for you to study these type of words properly so that you know what you're actually experiencing. We don't really think about these things, these are small little things. We totally ignore it. Desire is actually a state of mind, and I'm reading this from Wikipedia, not from any fancy book. Desires or desires are states of mind that are expressed by terms like wanting, wishing, longing, or craving. Okay, craving, I have spoken about three things: craving, aversion, and attachment. These are the three things that we need to get rid of in order to create an authentic lifestyle. An ascension life is based on releasing of craving, of aversion, and of attachment. Three things very important, okay? So desire is one of them because desire is about craving. A great variety of features are commonly associated with desires. They are seen as propositional attitudes towards conceivable states of affairs. They aim to change the world by representing how the world should be, unlike beliefs, which aim to represent how the world actually is. Desires are closely related to agency. They motivate the agent to realize them. For this to be possible, a desire has to be combined with the belief about which action would realize it. So what are they trying to say? That in order to get a desire fulfilled, the agencies are telling people that along with the belief, they need to do an action. What are the twin flame? I don't know about others, but what is a twin flame coach here telling you? Have the belief that this will happen or this should happen, okay? Or you have the intuition, but you are not the one who takes the action. The action happens on its own. It's an inspired action. In the meantime, you focus on things that you love to do. So then, you're no longer in the state of mind which is wanting, wishing, longing, or craving. Because if you're wishing for something, you're wanting something, you're desiring something, you're longing. The word longing, you can even check the word longing in the dictionary. It again means a yearning desire. A yearning, you're yearning for something. I am reading this because it's really interesting. And I also like the diagram that is shared with it, which I am sharing with you all also. So desires present their objects in a favorable light as something that appears to be good. Their fulfillment is normally experienced as a pleasurable experience or pleasurable. I'll read it again. Their fulfillment is normally experienced as pleasurable in contrast to the negative experience of failing to do so. Conscious desires are usually accompanied by some form of emotional response. So when people are in this runner-chaser dynamic also, they see this 3D visualization or 3D image of the masculine acting in a certain way, okay? What I would rather tell you to do is, or what the journey or the correction that you need to do is, you need to accept them, that they are already there with you, and then not focus on the things around you that show you any of that, the lack or the limitation. Because the lack of and limitation will make you want to do something or the other about it, okay? Which you don't need to do. if you are actually in the zone, like I already have it, and that's why I have 2 channels. This is the reason I have 2 channels. The universe, where we give out the messages, different types of messages for the twin flamers, and the union channel is where we give all the metaphysical information connected to the union, so that you guys don't get confused about it. Like, I know everybody else, there are so many people who are getting confused, and one of the reasons I started this work is because I also for some time was very confused, and I was like, what the hell is this twin flame union? I need to know it fully, I need to understand it, because I don't think I am literally running in the opposite direction, and I was really in a very bad type of a dark night where everything was very dismal, health was very bad, finances were very bad, everything was bad, like everything was downhill. Whereas when I was doing something else, and when I'd written the book In the Name of Love, so that's the reason why I tell people to read this book, to buy this book, because this is an investment you're going to make. And every story is, all those who have read this book have written to me and told me, when they read the book, they really got so much clarity. So when I had written the book, I had complete clarity about the twin flame relationships, even though there was no information on internet. Today, you can type on the internet twin flame and there are hundreds of videos. In 2010 and 9, there was nothing. There was literally nothing. Digital marketing had just started at that time. So you can imagine. So at that time, this book was written, and I was very clear about what I want from true love. And then I only started, reading about twin flames from different places, law of attraction, this, that, and I was totally confused with it. And I was like, what the hell? What the hell is this? Now this has to shift. This has to change. The correct information has to go out to people. Otherwise, people are going to be so unhappy. And that's what the reptilians want to do. That's what the people who run the earth for energy harvesting, that's what they want to do. They want people to get confused about the real concept of love. They never want them to be in love. They never want them to enjoy what love is all about. So you should read Rumi's work. Very nice things he writes about love. Very, very beautiful, unconditional love. And he also sort of, there are stories, where he was rejected by someone, and then how he realized what love is, and then the same person accepted him or talked with him. But then it was a completely different feeling altogether this time. It was no longer, being in love with the so-called identity, because the identity was not even important. But yes, that particular identity led you to do all the inner work and research and become so wise that you start experiencing unconditional love in totality, for real. And as I say, it's not easy to stick to it. It's very difficult to stick to it for some time at least. It's not easy. You're gonna fall out of it because, you are in 3D. You're in 3D, from 3D to 5D. Whenever you feel that unconditional love, you realize that, okay, this is real. I got to stick to this routine. I got to take care of myself. I got to take care of my health. I got to take care of my body. But most importantly, I got to take care of my mind, because it is my mind that is causing so much havoc. I need to learn how to control my mind. I need to tame this mad elephant at any cost. While many researchers roughly agree on these general features, there is significant disagreement about how to define desires. That is, which of these features are essential and which ones are merely accidental. Action-based theories define desires as structures that incline us towards actions. And pleasure-based theories focus on the tendency of the desire to cause pleasure when fulfilled. Value-based theories identify desires with attitude towards values, like judging or having an appearance that something is good. Desires can be grouped into various types according to a few basic distinctions, like intrinsic desire, concern what the subject wants for its own sake, while instrumental desires are about what the subject wants for the sake of something else. Occurrent desires are either conscious or otherwise casually active, in contrast to standing desires which exist somewhere in the back of one's mind. Proportional desires are directed at possible states of affairs, while object desires are directly about objects. Various authors distinguish between higher desires associated with spiritual or religious goals and lower desires which are concerned with bodily or sensory perceptions or pleasures. So now I want to, stop over here, because after that we don't need to get into it. I'll definitely talk about marketing and how advertising companies and all the corporations, they use this psychological state of mind. However, over here, very interestingly, it's written that various authors distinguish between higher desires associated with spiritual or religious goals and lower desires. So lower desires are concerned with bodily or sensory pleasures, and this is what I meant. If you have a desire of union, now having a desire of the union is also a desire, okay? But that, I would say that only one desire is the desire you should have. And you should work towards it, because if you genuinely, totally work towards it, the desire itself will teach you, it will show you the path, okay? But because the lower desires, like the sensory perceptions or the bodily pleasures, these are going to keep you trapped in the hell dimensions, okay, which is at 125, and it will also keep you stuck in the victim abuser consciousness, where one day you will be like the victim and the other day you will be like the abuser, or you would feel other people are abusing you, or someday you will feel like you're the one who's abusing other people, but you'll never get out of it. You'll never get out of that zone. Now, what do the marketing and advertising companies do? They use these psychological researches on how the desire is stimulated to find more effective ways to induce or hypnotize the consumers to buy a given product or service. So what they do is they show a happy family, or they show, imagine they are selling, something like Coca-Cola or something very unhealthy, but they are attaching the emotion of happiness, joy, curiosity, wonder, amazement, good times with it, okay? Like there is this ad which is very popular in India, which says, "Dar ke aage jeet hai." So dar means fear, and beyond fear is victory, okay? So if you cross the fear, it's victory. It's a very powerful, very impactful, literally statement to say, and give it out to people, and then they attach it with their own product, which is Mountain Dew. I actually find these advertisement companies or people who create advertisements, nothing against the job they do, but I think very indirectly, without knowing it, they are also working for Illuminati big time. I had once upon a time met a reflector, as per human design. As you know, reflectors are only 1% of people. I had met a reflector who had this advertising background, okay? So he was working for an ad agency on a very, you could say a very good position. And he would come up with these things, like how he can create this ad or that ad or blah, blah, blah. So whenever I would talk to him, I would always get this feeling that he is trying to sell me something. Even if it's just a normal thing, like just a thing like, meeting him or talking to him or going out with him. But it's always like he's talking in some kind of a language, he's talking in some kind of a, like some kind of a inducing a person or hypnotizing, and that's the reason why they are very good in their jobs, in whatever they do. But they are literally stuck. Now, if you study human design, reflectors are really like so important, because they're just 1%, and they talk about, or they reflect a certain group of society just from those 1% people. So that's why these people are somewhere, sometimes they are in these very hidden type of places where desires are manifested. And if I would meet him or any of his people, like his friends, all the people who are in his group, you would always see them in a bar or in a high-end fancy club, drinking alcohol like every day, literally every second day. All of them looking good, all of them drinking alcohol, all of them in those dark places all the time, and all of them having this very fancy, luxurious lifestyle with a lot of money, with a lot of luxury, opulence and things like that. But they are literally conning and fooling so many people to buy bullshit products. To buy literally bullshit products that are not good for health, that are not good for your mind, that are not good for your progress, and keeping them trapped in these earthly desires which are connected to sensory perceptions and bodily pleasures. And that's why I feel that they have a very hard time talking to a spiritual person, because they think that spiritual people are literally idiots. They are idiots because they're spending their time, they're spending everything, like not doing something productive, because spiritual people are not running after money, or they are not running after fame. Sometimes I have noticed these people who are in the marketing, because I am from marketing too, I have a marketing background. Sometimes I used to feel another person I met, interestingly, who wanted to be a famous person himself, but the irony was, or the pain was, that he was marketing for famous people. Like, he was working on their PR and keeping them popular. He was a good looking boy, like guy, man, whatever, good looking, tall, smart, he could speak well. So in his life, his pain was, in fact, this reflector guy also that I'm talking about, I could see that even he has this strong desire of becoming famous. Okay. But what to do? They can't be famous because they themselves know that they are selling. This is something that they are selling, and they themselves cannot sell what they are selling to others, to themselves, because it's all about beliefs, as I said. And sometimes they say that if you change your beliefs, you can change your life, because in the hell dimensions, the beliefs are all connected to pain, desire, fears, and you shift from that, you shift into the higher dimensions. You don't feel those things because you have changed your belief system. Like simple beliefs like God is going to take care of me, like everything is going to be fine, or everything is okay. At the end of the day, everything is okay. All of this is temporary. All of this is moh maya, as we say. Arey sab moh maya. In India we say this, arey sab moh maya. But how many people understand it? Moh means, attachment, and maya means illusion. So it's a funny way of saying, or it's a sarcastic way of saying that sab moh maya, like all is attachment and illusion. So why are we getting stuck into it? But how many people practically understand it or use it? That's something that we should question. I sometimes feel that people who sell these desires to other people, just imagine how much karma they are creating on themselves. The theme of desire is at the core of romance novels, which often creates drama by showing cases where human desire is impeded by social conventions, class, or cultural barriers. Melodrama films use plots that appeal to the heightened emotion of the audience by showing crises of human emotion, failed romance or friendship in which desire is thwarted or unrequited. And of course, at the end, it's a happy ending. So all these subjects, if you study them deeply, just by reading them also, just by studying them, or just by listening right now as you're doing, you can see that it's like the information is so clear. The words may be simple and small, but we skip out these words. Okay. And then the next point is 150 points for anger. Now, 150 points for anger. And anger, I don't need to explain much because we all know what anger is. But during my own progress, or during my own, you can say, inner work going within, and my work that I'm doing with my masters, I had this question, because if they would say anger is useless, let it go, don't bother, don't worry, and this and that, I would say, okay, why should I? Like if something is hurting me, something is wrong. So again, you need to study anger. It's a strong feeling of annoyance, displeasure, or hostility as per the dictionary. As a verb, it means fill with anger, provoke anger in, etc. However, anger can be, I think in English language, you cannot really go very deep into words. But if you get angry about something, a genuine cause, then the next step should be that you should take a stand for it. If it's a genuine thing, it's inhumanity, it is falsehood, it is like something bad which really hurts you, not that someone is getting hurt, when you get hurt with it and you are the one who gets affected by it, so you would know. If you get hurt with it, if you are annoyed with it, if you feel hostility, irritation, displeasure, whatever, all these feelings, when you feel it, you need to just go within and ask a question, why are you angry? Okay? Because anger is the feeling that makes someone want to hurt other people, or to shout, or to do something like you want to express. In some cases, is that expression wrong or right? That is the only thing you need to do. Now, when I have noticed one thing, when you are doing inner work, when you are very deep into inner work, or if say you are in the 5D reality, then the anger will be a very different type of a thing, because you will not even get to know when you will take a stand, when you will do something. It will naturally happen, because then anger will also become a natural emotion like all the other emotions. I'm not saying that it's bad to be angry, but for example, if you see a man molesting a child, would you not get angry? Would you not do something about it? You would do something about it, right? If it's happening right in front of you. Or something which is very disgraceful happens in front of you, won't you speak about it? Like this whole Travis Scott thing, the concert where so many people died. So many people have died. Only on the media they're saying 10, 8. How many people went to the hospital? So many were crushed. So many were trampled under so many people. It was a serious issue. Very big issue that happened over there. A 9-year-old child was dead. First of all, how was a 9-year-old child even allowed over there? It's a concert full of people, full of music. There are people doing drugs. How is a 9-year-old child? How did the child even reach over there? What was the marketing strategy? What was the way it was, told to people? There were no exit points. There were so many things. If you study the whole situation that went out of the hands, as they say. But what about the poster? I literally feel that on that day, 6th of November, the timeline got truly split, and these people made a public announcement that true dystopia is here. True dystopia means now the people who are in this other world, in this dark world, in the hell realm, they will be open about it, and they will openly do things. Publicly they will do things. Like I was really disgusted with this, but I still want to share it with you. I saw this woman, a lady, performer, singer, rock star, whatever you want to call them. I don't know who gave them this title of star. She literally urinated on the stage, on a fan. She made the fan lie down on the stage, and she urinated on his mouth, on his face. And she did it publicly. She took off her pants and she did it publicly. Okay? And still she got to perform till the end. Still, people played music, people watched her. Like, how could people watch this shit? And why were people paying her for this? I don't understand. I don't think this is planet Earth. It doesn't look like the Earth that I know. This is definitely not Earth. This is definitely some crazy place where people are doing all these things openly on stage. Openly on the stage, this guy Travis Scott is watching people die, but he doesn't stop. He continues to sing. He sees an ambulance, and huge crowd. It's very, very visible in all the videos that this ambulance is surrounded by so many people. Just stop the damn concert, man. How important it is for you to sing. Or this woman, I'll tell you her name. Her name is Sofia Urista, and you can type Sofia Urista video. And when I read the comments under the video, I was shocked even more, because some of the people were actually finding it good, whatever she did. Some of the people were like, wow, she's a true rock star. Like, seriously? So then there are some people who are enjoying these things, and there are some people, like there were people even in the Travis Scott concert who were dancing on the ambulance. Like, they were dancing on the ambulance after knowing that there is an ambulance, there's an emergency, somebody is dead. They were dancing on the ambulance. Yes, there were a lot of amazing people who helped other people out, and I saw many videos, and I've been sharing some of them also. I saw the number of people who were concerned. I saw the number of people who helped them out, and I even saw the video of the mother who lost a beautiful girl, and she mentions this. My daughter was a pure soul, and she was very giving. The first time in life she asked for something was this concert, and I don't know why I didn't say no. I didn't say no because she's never asked for anything. She's always done things for other people. Even when she was on the ventilator, she signed and said that just in case I die, please donate all my organs. So such good people are being taken away by these dark souls, these dark energies. This should not happen, my friends. This should not happen. This should not happen. We need to pray for everybody. We need to pray for all the people. And I know all those people who are guided by the masters are safe. But still, there are casualties on both sides. There are casualties literally on both sides. So we need to pray for all those people so that nobody gets trapped in this hell dimension. Especially not the good people, especially not the giving ones, especially not the pure souls, especially not these little innocent children who go to a concert thinking that it's going to be a fun thing, something new. And what happens to them? They get trampled, they get crushed by other people. Now, anger, so I say anger is very important as long as it makes you stand up, it makes you change things. Like even in your twin flame journey, I know a lot of divine feminines who get very angry with the masculine. Sometimes I don't feel bad if they're angry, if they're in that stage when they're extremely angry and upset with whatever happened. Later on they realize that, they get angry on themselves too. Because why was I chasing? Why was I doing those things? Was it really me? Why was I so desperate? Why did I want his attention? Why was I calling him frantically? Why was I convincing him so much? Obviously, I thought I'm not good enough. But am I really not good enough? And I'm telling you, this is a message for everyone today. Another message that was sent some time back. That you are wonderful just the way you are. You are amazing just the way you are. Okay? So, 150 points for anger, and this anger is definitely the anger which is the useless type of anger that puts you down in the dark energies. If you get angry about something, then question yourself. Do you want to change it or do you want to remain in it and then get frustrated and feel bad about it and not get out of it? Because yes, there are some people who are living in very low vibrations. And you could be attached with them. They could be having huge amount of expectations. They are not yet ready with the life lessons, or they have a lot of, negative programming, and a lot of, insecurities about themselves, a lot of negative feelings about their own selves too, as much as they have for other people. They could be led by someone who is a very negative person but a good manifester, whatever it is. But they are dwelling in anger and they are not able to get out of it. They cannot forgive, they cannot move on, or they cannot make any solution. They are going on reacting. The more you react, the more it will increase, and you will obviously stay in those dimensions. So if someone has done bad to you, you think about it. Okay, somebody did this to me. Right, 50%, okay, they are responsible. What about me? 50% I should be responsible. Slowly you'll realize 60% you're responsible. Then you'll realize 70%, 80%. Now when I say the word responsible, I also give you the power to change it. So as soon as you get 100% responsibility of your own actions, then you can be 100% you can change it too. And that's the time you can say, okay, this happened, it's in the past, now I need to move on, I need to live my life right now. I need to stop dwelling over those thoughts, I need to stop dwelling, even when you want to change something, say you want to change something, and you put forth a point, you put across a point, you make a stand, you express your views, and then you need to be very solid that this will change. you have expressed your views, then you cannot shuffle, you cannot go back to like, okay, I've changed my thing, I've said whatever I wanted to, but you know what, it's never gonna change, it's never gonna fix. So what about the effort that you made, the energy that you put out in taking a stand, the energy that you put out in trying to fix things? That energy is important, right? And then the best thing you do is when you surrender to source and you let them do the work. You say, okay, I'm a normal person, a human being after all, and I would like you to make this change. I would like you to fix it, and I would be very curious to see how you fix it. But I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm not going to waste my time on it thinking about how it's going to happen and what's going to happen and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to live in my present moment, and I'm going to do what I'm here to do in the right now, in this moment, and then moment by moment by moment. And then you have at 175, you have pride. You have pride, such a strong negative emotion, and we must know how to release this. Now, pride comes from a deep feeling. It's a very deep feeling of pleasure or satisfaction, which is derived from your own achievements or the achievements of those people who are very close to you, like your family members, your husband or somebody, or from the qualities or possessions that are widely admired. Okay, so it's a consciousness of your one's own dignity, to be very proud of a quality or a skill. Now you must be thinking that by definition it all sounds very nice, a pleasure, satisfaction of achievements, of your achievements, of other people's achievements, those who matter to you. Why is this a negative emotion, and why is this a hell dimension? Because please understand, it is pleasure after all. And pleasure is a temporary feeling, and it has a polar feeling too. If you're going to be deeply, attached with something like, oh, I'm a very good singer, I can sing so much, and you get a lot of pleasure when you sing a beautiful song and you're like, wow, I sing so beautiful, God has given me a beautiful voice, thank you so much, thank you, and you're very happy about it, then you're singing, and you have somehow developed pride, a deep sense of pleasure or satisfaction. How do we know that we have achievements? It's obviously other people who make us feel that, oh, this is an achievement, okay? So it makes us very happy, very, very elated. And then one fine day you can't sing because of whatever reason. You go onto stage and you cannot sing. You get a bad throat or something. Or maybe one of your performances is not that great. And then people tell you, oh, it's not that great. Or you don't get the same kind of response. Suddenly it will not feel like an achievement. Suddenly it will become a problem for you. Suddenly you will feel that, why couldn't I sing today? Or why am I not able to sing? Or, last time when I performed on this song, so many people were cheering and clapping for me. Today nobody's cheering and clapping for me. Nobody's interested. Or, now next step is, you do have a deep sense of satisfaction or pleasure from your own talent or skill or singing or dancing or whatever. And then comes somebody else who's equally proud, who's equally a narc, like, maybe you are more than, I'm just giving an example, it's not personally you, just for an example's sake, try to imagine or understand. Somebody else comes along. This happens with a lot of celebrities, there's a hot model, she's in the market, she's fresh and she's new. At the age of 17, she makes her big debut, she's on the, front cover of all magazines. She's been taken for all ad campaigns, she's walking the ramp and this and that. After 3 years, somebody else replaces her. Now the same achievement, the same thing, the same emotion becomes a problem. Now you have to maintain it. But you can't fight against nature, or you can't fight against anything that has a peak will come down. So what do you do? What do you do after that, my friends? In most cases, people work very hard to get the feeling again. Say for example, you are very, very proud, or you have pride because your husband is very handsome. Very, very good looking. Everybody tells you your husband is so handsome. Such a handsome man you've married. Such a rich and handsome man. You're very happy. And suddenly one fine day your best friend or some other friend marries an even wealthier man who's even more handsome. And now everybody suddenly from you, they've shifted to her. They started complimenting her. So pride always creates comparison. Pride always creates addictions. Okay? Beauty is an addiction. Youth is an addiction. And that's why universe is very smart. What universe will do is, they will be like, okay, beauty will only be there for say 10 years or 20 years, 30 years maybe, 40 years. Those who are very lucky, maybe more. But even they know that, it's not as how it used to be, or there will be comparison, that there are more beautiful people, or there are more good looking people, or more handsome, new people are coming in the market. Okay, or in wherever they live. Right? Then is power, then is money. Everything after some time, it starts getting boring and monotonous. If it's not coming from your soul, if it's not natural. Like a mango tree will keep producing mangoes every year, every season. For years upon years upon years. It never gets tired or bored of doing the same thing every year. Why? Because it's natural. Till the time it is there, till the time it's there, whatever time is written, whatever is predestined, it will keep doing its natural activities or duties. Nobody looks at the mango tree and says it's very old, it's aging, it needs some Botox, it should get some plastic surgery. None of that. Doesn't happen with the plants and animal kingdom. Even animals, I've noticed, they might age, or they might have to die, or whatever, something happens, natural things. But they always look the same, almost the same, Some animals definitely age, their teeth fall and all of that happens. But most of them, they maintain that cuteness, that beauty, all of that. I'm just giving these examples just for you to, relate with it better. A flower plant in your house, it will keep giving flowers every season, never get bored. But human beings get bored. They get bored, so they want to try something out. They want to keep changing things. And I'm not saying it's bad to change things. It's not bad to be spunky and all of that. But I'm just saying that the pain, the misery of attachment, addiction towards that feeling that makes you like an achiever, like you possess something, if that is based on temporary grounds, you will be very sad. But if your happiness, if your confidence, if your love, or your achievements, everything, if it's flowing from a permanent source, then there is no worry at all. You won't be bothered, you won't be affected by things that change, things that go away, things that end. You won't, cycles that get over, you won't be worried about it. And then comes at 200 points, courage. And this is where things shift. This is where the energy shifts. So in this video, I'm going to speak till here. In the next videos, I'm going to speak about 4th dimension, new humanity consciousness, 5th dimension. And I'm making these videos because people request for these videos, and I enjoy this type of content. I love the study of metaphysics, as you all know by now, and I recommend it to everyone. So this is a part of this study only. So till 175 points, pride, you will continue to experience the 3rd dimension. And somehow I feel guilt will keep coming back, shame will keep coming back, or one of the days apathy will come back, some of the days grief will come back, some of the days fears will be there, desire. So these are like up and down, up and down, up and down keeps happening in this also. But if you are fixed in the 3rd dimension, then fear, desire, anger, pride. Fear, desire, anger, pride. These 4 emotions are definitely going to be constant. As soon as you get into the 4th dimension, the first step is courage. Courage is so important for the basic thing that you need to change, that you need to shift. You need courage. Because it's not easy to get out of all these negative emotions. Trust me, negative emotions are very strong. They are equally strong, Somebody who wants to feel guilty, it's so difficult to tell them, don't feel guilty. Even if you say, don't feel guilty, don't feel ashamed, don't fear, let go of this desire. Don't be angry. Let it be. It will fix on its own. You've done your bit. Don't have so much pride. Come on. Don't be so proud and arrogant. But do people listen? No. Not possible. Now, some of the people who exist in these lower dimensions, lower vibrations, on certain days they do feel the courage, they do feel neutrality, they do feel willingness, they do feel acceptance. Sometimes they might even feel inner light. Sometimes they might even feel self-empowerment. But not for long. Not for long. Then they will drop down again. And I've noticed one more thing, that the person who is living in these higher dimensions, who's very self-realized, they do have some kind of energy. Because when they move around in these people who are in low dimensions, I know it sometimes feels like they could suck your energy, but I think that's still fourth dimension, and even in the new humanity consciousness, I can feel that. But once you're fully self-realized, obviously these lower vibrations, these lower energies cannot affect you. Even if you meet such people, they will not act like that in front of you. They will definitely not. And that's why we say in the twin flame journey, people change, people shift. Why do we say that? Because you have grown out of that emotion, because you have done your inner work, because you don't think like that. So even the people who could be very negative, maybe they are still very negative, maybe they are still very annoying, maybe they are still very angry all the time, maybe still they have a lot of expectations from other people, and they don't think, they should do anything for anyone. They only think about themselves. My pain, my pain, my pain, my pain. I don't care about your pain. I don't care about anybody's pain. Everybody should think about me. Me. So there are some people who behave like that, but in front of a healed person, a healed empath, a self-realized person, they may not do this. They may not do it because the energy becomes such that they cannot do it. And during that time, they might feel something different, and they might for some time be like, it was so nice to be in the presence of that person, but once that person is gone, they don't feel like that anymore. In fact, they might just criticize that person. Oh yeah, he has also not done anything for me. Or she is like maybe very lucky, maybe very privileged. Maybe something is good going on for them, that person, he or she. But that's it. Maybe in front of that person, they would not reflect those vibes. Now, behind their back, they can do whatever they want. The self-realized won't know it any which way and won't even care about it. So here I'm going to pause this video. I have spoken till the point of courage, which is till the purgatory level, which is lower ego self. Lower ego self exists between 20 to 199 as per the levels of consciousness chart, which you are seeing in front of you right now. We are going to discuss the fourth dimension and upper dimensions very soon, just the way I tried to share it with you over here with examples. And I would only like to say that if you want to go within, if you want to do inner work, you want to heal, then you can check out the description box. You can get personal readings, you can get private sessions, and you can get into therapy. And if you also want to contribute towards the content I make, and you want me to keep making this type of content all the time, then you can also contribute to my channel using the same PayPal link that you otherwise use to book private sessions, readings, and therapies. And liking, subscribing, and commenting, yeah, if you feel like, why not? But I'm not that much into subscribing and all of that. That's not important. More important is that you're here right now and you're paying attention. So thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you so much for listening in, and most importantly, thank you for showing interest in these type of subjects and doing inner work and trying to make this world a better place to live in. One love and peace out.